It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. Mike Vrabel meeting with the media at St. Thomas Sports Park just a few minutes ago, ruling out Ryan Tannehill, and Josh Wiley said Roger McCreary will be questionable for that game Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. Thursday Night Football last night as the Bills held off the Bucs 24-18. Josh Allen starring in that one, going 31 of 40 for 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and adding 7 rushes for 41 yards and another touchdown on the ground. The Bills improved to 5-3 and in second place in the AFC East. In Vols news, defensive back Kamal Haddon announced on his Instagram yesterday afternoon that he is undergoing season-ending surgery. Haddon ends his season with 19 total tackles, 7 passes defended, and 3 interceptions. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday to you. Happy Houston Oiler, Tennessee Oiler History Friday to you.
Oh, yeah.
Billy White Shoes going in the Ring of Honor. Him and his white shoes. I hope his sign has white shoes on it. Like his name and his number and like 2 white shoes. I want that to happen.
Oh, my.
It's my guy. It's my guy when I was a kid. And here we are all grown up. And he's the only.
I mean, I saw highlights of him. I never remember. Did he play? He played for the Falcons too, right?
Later in his career, yep.
I think that's when I remember. I don't remember him with the.
And he had some nice moments with the Falcons in the 80s.
Yeah.
And he lost basically 2 of his Oiler years to injuries. Then he played in Canada for a year, and then he wound up with Atlanta. And he had some nice years with Atlanta as his career kind of wore down. He was still there.
Like how Mel Gray was.
Yeah, kind of. He was still their punt returner, and he was a receiver in the rotation for them. I think Billy White Shoes Johnson actually has – I think he has more career catches than Lynn Swann. Lynn Swann didn't have many catches. It was just the catches that he made and where he made them.
Well, compared to the other Hall of Famers, he had catches. It was just compared to everybody else. But his yardage was up there.
Yeah, and his punt and kick return yardage. He's the only member – of the all-70s NFL team.
Here's what I don't like about that analogy. So basically you're trying to say Billy White Shoes Johnson was as good as Lynn Swann.
Oh, no.
As a wide receiver. No, but that's what people think when they look at – you're talking about the stat of, he had more catches. But he's not even in the stratosphere to me as a wide receiver as Lynn Swann. Now he wasn't playing with all the people, Lynn Swann had around him too.
Well, the point really was people remember him as a return man, but he was a nice receiver in his day, too.
Yes, I only know him as a returner.
337 career receptions.
For Billy White Shoes.
Where did he get most of those? With the Oilers?
Yes.
Oh. So
What did Lynn Swann
if he
have?
didn't do over in Canada.
Yeah, he missed, like I said, 2 whole years of his career. I think he played 3 games in one and 2 games in another. Then he played for Montreal Alouettes, I think, for a year. So in those days, Canada and the NFL paid about the same, too. So if a guy could get a better deal, some of them went to Canada just to make a little more money.
Lynn Swann had 336 receptions.
There you go. Exciting stuff.
But when you say that, though, why do you reference Lynn Swann about catches compared to Billy White Shoes Johnson? What point are you trying to make?
Just that Lynn was considered a great receiver. And Billy is only considered a return man, but he actually matched his catch total on, and just to give Billy a little love, that's all. I just thought that was funny.
Oh, well that's why what would you say?
Billy White Shoes also played 14 seasons compared to Lynn Swann's 9.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah, he didn't play very long. He had concussions. He had some bad concussions.
Well, I mean, if you use the Hall of Fame player, but there's tons of players that had more catches that are not even in the Hall of Fame that Billy White Shoes had. So, I mean, that's why I asked that.
Yeah.
Catches is not an equator to telling you if a player is good or as good as a player that's in the Hall of Fame, not in the Hall of Fame. When you watched people feared Lynn Swann, I don't think people feared Billy White Shoes Johnson as a wide receiver.
Sure.
He was a good wide receiver, but Lynn Swann was a ballerina, super athletic player on a great team. So, yeah. Nothing against Billy White Shoes Johnson, who was a heck of a player. But I always envisioned him as a great returner. But I get your point. You're trying to prove that.
Just an interesting piece of trivia.
He was also a really good, solid wide receiver.
Yeah.
No question.
Mike Vrabel, he was a good, solid receiver when they threw in the ball in the end zone. He spoke to reporters. This is that Friday deal where he doesn't do it like over Zoom, but he does it, and then people just start tweeting stuff out. So Ryan Tannehill is out. No surprise. Josh Wiley is out. He's been in the concussion protocol. Vrabel is not ready to announce his starting quarterback. This is per John Glennon. He keeps saying that we will see both young guys. Again, that's per John Glennon. I'm reading these in order. They all came out just a couple of minutes ago. Teron Davenport, Mike Vrabel said Roger McCreary will be listed as questionable. Well, I hope that question gets answered.
Oh, Roger McCreary's not playing, if I was guessing. This is me just guessing. Hamstring, not practicing. No, he's not. He's not playing.
Mike Vrabel said Chris Moore cleared concussion protocol. As a return man, Mike Vrabel said Kyle Phillips had a good week. He mentioned Eric Garror as an option as well. Looks like Eric Garror, this is Teron Davenport, he says it looks like Eric Garror will get a game day elevation from the practice squad.
Oh.
So Garror the Terror.
Oh.
Looking to see if there's anything else. Jim Wyatt says Traylon Burks has looked good per Vrabel. He needs to be productive and ready to go. That's where we are. That's the latest one. There's a few videos. Mike Vrabel talking about alumni weekend. After that.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to go. How many years did Billy White Shoes play?
14, if I counted that right.
Oh wow,
He played a lot for Atlanta. Several years for Atlanta.
Yeah.
He played in Atlanta from 82 all the way until 87, and he finished career 88 with Washington.
And he had 307 catches.
337 catches.
And he plays 14 years. Wow. Reason why I say that, here's to me the fair comparison. The greatest Titans wide receiver of all time is Derek Mason.
Mm-hmm.
His receptions, 973.
Woo!
Wow.
See? So now, he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. He's been nominated.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that is what you're looking at, not people who are already in the Hall of Fame, because, the criteria changes in each era. And Billy White Shoes was before Lynn Swann even, I think, or were they during the same time?
They played the same time.
Same time? Okay, yeah. And the Steelers, almost their whole entire team is in the Hall of Fame, offense and defense, especially the skill guys for sure. So yeah, that just kind of different eras and showing how much they throw the ball more. And then if you want to compare stats to stat, you go, well, that's not even comparable. So then it makes you say, why his name ain't up there? See, that's what I do. So. Why didn't Derek Mason name up there? See,
well, I didn't mean to open Pandora's box. It's just a fun fact.
Close.
Yeah,
I mean, it's we talking about he triples. Yeah, so every era they were in different eras, threw the ball much more. So you could say that too. But he was not. Derek Mason was a dominant player. Billy White Shoes probably was a dominant returner. He was just a good wide receiver. Just no different than any other starting wide receiver in the National Football League who's not a Hall of Famer.
Would you like his return stats?
Oh, now his return numbers. What are they?
All right. In his career, 282 returns for 3,317 yards.
3,000 return yardage?
3,317 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Okay. Well, Derek Mason has 5,000 return yards.
That's for punt
86.
returns. That's not combined. That's just punt returns.
Okay. I don't know what this return yardage means, but he had 3 touchdowns.
So kick returns, he had 123 returns for 2,900 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Derek Mason also led the NFL return yardage in 2000 for all-purpose yardage in NFL history.
Yeah, D-Mace had a heck of a run.
It's hard to be number one in the National Football League, and then for somebody to say, I don't know if you get. Wait a minute now. And he did it over periods of time. It wasn't just a one-hit wonder. Like this, we thought he was a weapon when we had him. Like, you gonna kick to Derek Mason? Oh, okay. We're gonna get good field position, if not a touchdown.
You don't see star position like wide receivers return punts anymore.
Well, he was probably not in his prime as where he was the star receiver.
As the receiver yet?
When he was the returner, punt returner, kick returner. He started, but he didn't come into his own until he was really just a receiver. I would say, more so than not. I mean, he might have every now and then returned punts, but when he became the guy here with the Titans, him and Drew Bennett, did he return a lot? I think a little bit, but not. I think they eventually got him off of there.
I think it became more of a let's use him for select times, but they needed him too much to catch passes at that point. But for 3 years, he was more of a special teams weapon, which is crazy to think.
It prolonged his career, no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he wasn't playing, wide receiver. They envisioned him as a returner, maybe a third down slot guy, because of his size, and he proved that all wrong. I mean, over his time in his career with the Titans and everything else, yeah, which was really fascinating. People forget they tried to trade him, and he flunked the physical to go to the San Diego Chargers. And so we got him back. Mm-hmm. Said he needed a scope on his knee, which he did, but wasn't nothing major.
Yeah, so looking at Derek Mason's stats for returns after 2001, in 2002 he only returned 9 punts, 2003 he only returned 8, and in 2004 he returned 24 punts and only 5 kickoffs in that 3-year span.
Oh,
after 2001.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was solidified as a number 1 wide receiver. But it's going to be fun. All alumni, he'll be there. Billy White Shoes. Man, I feel like I want to find a way for you to meet Billy White Shoes Johnson, Mickey.
Now, I met him before. I broke into, somebody asked about this.
You broke into something?
Yeah. I went to a Titans-Falcons game years ago.
Huh?
And after the game, it was in, what did they used to play in? The
Titans-Falcons.
Titans-Falcons. He used to work for the Falcons, Billy White Shoes.
Right.
He was like community relations or something.
Uh-huh.
So they played in, what was it, the Georgia Dome, the old stadium?
Oh, you broke into that?
Yeah. After the game.
You act like that's just okay.
I walked outside. Well, it's not breaking in if no one stops you.
It was the Georgia Dome.
Georgia Dome. Like it's a common occurrence.
So
like,
my wife and some people were there, and I said, I had a friend who worked for the Titans at that time, like a guy actually from Arkansas State. He only worked for them for a couple of years. And I said, I'm going to go say hey to Casey before we drive back to Nashville. I said, I'm just going to go say hey to him. And they said, that's fine. We'll wait right here. So I thought, I know where the bus is and I know where all that happens and all the players and their families and everybody are around. So I just walked right through everybody and walked right in the door. Nobody said a word to me. So I saw somebody walking in, and I just started talking to them like I knew them, and they were all credentialed, like we were together. And I was gesturing like so everybody could see we're having a conversation. And I may have just said, like, you having a great day, man? Because it's an awesome day. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm having a great day. And so we just keep walking and talking. Well, I walked through everybody, walked past all the security. Then I'd start walking down hallways in there. So then I see like a stairwell or whatever, and I thought, I can go down to field level. So I just kept walking. I walked all the way to the Titans locker room. And so Casey, my friend, was actually standing by the door. He worked with Robbie and those guys. And he walked out and said, what are you doing here? I said, I don't know, man. I just walked down here and nobody stopped me. And so I talked to him for a few minutes. Then I turned around and walked out. And when I was walking out, I bumped into Billy White Shoes. I had a nice conversation with him. So as long as you act like you know where you're going, a lot of times people don't stop you.
Do you remember that story? I think it was a couple years ago. A guy made a fake sideline pass, and he pretended to be like a recruit. And he like snuck down onto the field and into the locker room. I can't remember what team it was. He took a picture with the head coach and everything in college football. I mean, he like pretended to be like this kicking recruit.
This came out this year. I think it was Texas A&M.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, Jimbo Fisher. That's right.
He was at a tailgate.
Yeah, and
he just said, "I'm gonna see if I can get into the game." So he got around he did the same thing, and so he said, finally, somebody said, "Where's your pass?" And he spoke Spanish, so he started speaking Spanish, and he said, "Kicker, kicker." And so they're like, oh, so they got him all passed up, and he went to it was when A&M beat Alabama on the field goal a couple of years ago.
That's right.
And he was in the locker room celebrating, took a picture with Jimbo Fisher. Yeah, can't think of the guy's name, but it's out there. And he was about half drunk, he said, when he did it.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure they did a highlight of that on Game Day a few weeks ago.
I think they did this year when they played again. Crazy stuff. I don't know if Ric Butler's ever broken into any stadiums, but he covers the Vols no matter what stadium they go to. And Tennessee and Kentucky are getting ready to lock heads this weekend. Let's talk to Ric Butler of Rocky Top Insider coming up next.
Well, fall is here, and that doesn't necessarily mean your to-do list is. The Cool Ray team is here to help, and they'll waive the service fee if your visit requires a repair. Having a plumbing problem that popped up out of nowhere? Where their plumbing team has you covered. Have an electrical issue you've been putting off for a while? Well, the electrical team at Cool Ray can be there for you. And of course, if you have an HVAC unit that is starting to struggle, they can repair that all while waiving the service fee. And you can still save up to $1,250 on brand new Timstar home comfort systems. Plus, they boost the 10-year parts and labor warranty on new Timstar home comfort system. And schedule your next visit online at coolray.com. No phone call, no wait, no worries. You pick the date and time that works for you. That's coolray.com.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. I'd say some pressure for both Kentucky and Tennessee as they square off in Lexington on Saturday. Ric Butler will be covering it all for Rocky Top Insider, as he always does. Rick, how in the world are you doing, man? It's been a while.
Hey, guys, great to be back here on the show. I'm doing great. I've got a baseball game coming up today. I'm excited for the World Series. We're heading to Lexington tomorrow. Heck, Tennessee has a basketball game against Michigan State on Sunday. There's a lot of fun things going on right now.
It's everything season, man. The end of October is the most magical sports time on the calendar every year because the weather's great and literally everybody is playing everything at that point.
Yes, absolutely. I'm from Dallas, so I'm a Dallas guy, and we've got all 4 of our teams playing right now. First time it's happened in more than a decade. So you're right. No matter who you're cheering for, hopefully your team is up. But what a great time of the year it is on the sports calendar.
Sure is. It's not a great time to be Jim Harbaugh, though. Let me ask you this. What do you make of this whole Michigan and sign stealing and how it creeps all the way into the big orange country of Tennessee? What are your thoughts on all this mess?
Yeah, this is just kind of a wild situation that's obviously come up here in the last week, and then out of nowhere, Tennessee's name was not only involved, but it continued to pick up more and more steam around this conversation with the report of potentially giving signs to other teams. Some people kind of figuring that could be a South Carolina after really what they were able to do against Tennessee and Clemson in the back two weeks of the season. I'll tell you this, guys. I think that what they're doing, the whole Stein stealing process, is something that is somewhat common in college football. Obviously, I don't know how common it is, but I do believe it's somewhat there. I, though, am firm in the belief, though, that, hey, if it's not part of the rules, it should not be in the game and it shouldn't have any place in the game. Now, then you get over to a crazy side of things and you start potentially, I want to correct myself, you start potentially dispersing that information. I think that's where it gets really, really tricky as well. So this is interesting how that's unfolded. I imagine it will continue to unfold, but I really have no idea which direction this is going to go, considering Michigan's in such a playoff race right now. So I'm entirely intrigued to figure out how Tennessee how their storyline plays out. But just from a big picture, I do think that this situation will cause changes in college football. I'm one that hopes that the technological helmet comes into play, but we'll see how this really shakes out.
Ric Butler, our guest at Ric_Butler from Rocky Top Insider.
Well, Rick, let's kind of preview what happened in Tuscaloosa. Let's start there.
Sure. That was a game where, Tennessee got off to a great hot start at the beginning, and I think everybody was able to see that. One of the most impressive aspects to me was just the way that the passing game was able to be efficient, really move the ball down the field. Tennessee played complete football in that first half. They found a way to get a turnover. They found a way to get in the end zone. They found ways to stop Alabama on offense in a lot of ways by getting them into challenging third down situations. I just think when they came out for the second half, Alabama had made the appropriate changes that Tennessee might not have been ready for. But something else that we kind of heard from the players after the game was, at halftime, Tennessee kind of felt like maybe they had it in the bag. Now, some of the coaches did kind of fight back against that this week, so maybe the truth lies in the middle. But I think that Tennessee just didn't come out as focused as they needed to be in that second half. Alabama was able to put up 14 points quickly on the board, and after that, you really just felt like it was going to be tough for Tennessee to climb back. So really what I'm looking for this Saturday against Kentucky is a 4-quarter game. I think last week the first half showed you that, hey, Tennessee does have the horses to go out there and to play a good game on the road. Certainly better than what they showed against Florida, but they've got to be able to do it for 4 quarters or else it really doesn't matter.
Well, they're going to have to do it without one of their better players, at least here recently. And Kamal Hadden is out. Is he out for the season? I'm not sure if he's out for the season or not, but who's going to replace him and how much will that impact the defense?
Yeah, I do think that this is a big loss for Tennessee. Kamal Hadden was not only one of Tennessee's starting cornerbacks, not only the best rated Pro Football Focus player in the secondary, but he was the second highest rated player on the defense entirety, only behind James Pierce Jr. So he really was making an impact on Tennessee's defense this year. But yes, you're right. He announced yesterday that it will be season-ending shoulder surgery. So you will not see Kamal Hadden out on the field. And I do think that's a big hit for this Tennessee secondary that's kind of been able to piece things together so far this season, maybe above average expectations for what you had at the beginning. It'll be Danico Slaughter and Gabe Judy Lawley out there on the corners. I think you might see a little bit more of a healthy dose of Brandon Turnage, but this is a big loss. Now, fortunately for Tennessee, they're not going up against an elite passing offense in Kentucky this weekend. So they have a little bit of wiggle room. They're not going to be as tested as they might be with some other teams in the conference, like a Missouri coming up in a couple weeks. But I do think that this is a big game to try to get a little bit of confidence in the secondary now that Kamal Haddon is gone. I don't know how that's going to affect the mentality of that room, but I think you need a big kind of performance just for the guys to be able to say, hey, we believed in this from the start, we believe in it now, and we're going to continue to believe in it moving forward.
Well, naturally, we went with Ric Butler, Rocky Top insider, beat writer. The offense has played okay. Defense has played up to par, maybe a little overachieving. But in this game, I think everything rides on how well Joe Milton plays. And if he's played the way he's played thus far, is that enough to beat Kentucky?
I do think that would be enough. Well, I think that sort of what you saw in the Alabama game, Joe Milton that is not necessarily going out there and making mistakes. He's not necessarily going out there to win you the game, but he's doing enough to keep this Tennessee train in motion. I think that idea right there is enough to win. The weird thing about this game is you can kind of look at it in two different ways, at least to me. Number one is which passing game can elevate their team to a position to be able to win this game, because neither passing game is very overwhelming. In fact, both are pretty underwhelming so far this year. But then the other side of it is, hey, which defense can make the opposing offense more one-dimensional, right? Because, again, the defenses are going to want to force the opposing offenses into passing situations. So I think that there will be opportunities for Joe Milton to stand back there and to throw the ball this weekend against Kentucky. I think that he'll have the chance to make plays, but I also think that he needs to continue to make plays with his legs. That to me was one of the biggest takeaways from that first half against Alabama. You saw how well the Tide were able to bottle up Tennessee's running game from the running backs because of the way that their linebackers were playing. But to me, what they were not factored in for as much is Joe Milton running the ball. To me, that was a little bit unexpected to see Tennessee do, especially at the extent and the effectiveness that they were doing it. So I really look at Joe Milton to continue to use his legs, keep this Kentucky defense off balance, but both defenses are going to want to try to make the other team throw the ball.
Well, Rick, man, you just made me nervous. You said whatever passing game of Kentucky or Tennessee, whoever passed the ball the best is going to win. I mean, this is Josh Heupel team. I mean, their team supposed to be able to pass better than Kentucky's team.
Yeah.
I mean, does that make you nervous just because of that statement? I mean, no, I understand every year is a new year and different players and all those things, but they're still supposed to be the better passing team.
Yeah, I do think that they are the better passing team first off. And it's really interesting. You go back to the Kentucky offseason, they bring in Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator. He returns to Lexington. Right. They bring in quarterback from NC State, Devin Leary. And in a lot of ways, that was kind of supposed to be the kick in the butt that this Wildcats offense needed to really get going in the passing game. Unfortunately for Kentucky, though, that just hasn't been the case. They've really had to rely on their run game so far behind Ray Davis, who, hey, is a name that's very known over there in Nashville and y'all's territory. So it does worry me a little bit that Tennessee is going to have to use the pass to win. I don't think they necessarily are going to need a 300-yard passing game to win this game, but they're going to need to do enough to continue again to keep that train moving down the field, whether it be a run here, and a screen pass here, whether it be a run, an intermediate pass, and then back to the run, some sort of combination. But the passing game has to at least be effective to keep Kentucky on their toes so they can't just front load the box and try to bottle up Jalen Wright and those guys as much as possible. So I think that Joe Milton needs to be able to be effective, but also play within his limitations. And I think that that's something that the coaching staff will absolutely have in store.
Well, you just mentioned Ray Davis. I mean, man, what is Tennessee going to be able to contain him? I mean, what's the key to containing him? I mean, I think he's leading the SEC in rushing or somewhere. He's at the top.
Yeah, absolutely. He's averaging 7.04 yards per carry right now, which is just unbelievable. Tennessee, though, on the flip side, they're only allowing 3.03 yards per carry, which is top 25 in the country, and that bumps up just a hair to 3.33 yards per carry when they're away from Neyland. So these are definitely two advantages going after each other between Tennessee's run defense and obviously Ray Davis with this Kentucky offense. But I think that you just do what you've been doing all year. You rely on your front seven. A lot of veterans on this Tennessee team like Amari Thomas, Tyler Barron, Karat Garland. Then you move back to the linebackers. A little bit more youth playing in right there with Elijah Herring and Arian Carter, but certainly Aaron Beasley is a force of nature on the football field. He's just been so impressive to watch this year. So I really look at that front line for Tennessee. Aaron Beasley in particular from the linebacking unit. I look at them to be able to play downhill, to be able to play aggressive and fast, and try to bottle up Ray Davis as much as possible. If you're Tennessee, you want to force Devin Leary into passing situations. Devin Leary he's sub 50% SEC competition. He's only averaging about 30 yards per game in SEC competition, and they've been getting outscored 89-34 in their last 2 SEC games. So I think if you're Tennessee, you absolutely say your best will not beat us. You're going to have to play above your head in order to win through the passing game.
There you have it. Ric Butler, Rocky Top Insider, beat writer.
Rick, let's just say it's a close game in the third quarter, which it very well could be. And let's say the Vols get a little bit of a drive going. Let's say they get to their own 49, and it's a third and like it's a fourth and a long one. I mean, like every bit of one and maybe a little bit more. Let's say it's a close game, and you got the punter who can do all these crazy things. You think he'll go for it on fourth and a long one at midfield?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
do. But no. The real question is, will he be in shotgun?
Oh.
Yes, they will. If I was a betting man, I'm not, but I would bet they would be.
I want to see the tush push.
Oh, I'm so happy you brought that up because Josh Heupel acknowledged that this week. He said that the coaching staff had studied the tush push over the offseason, and it did not have the colorful name that it does now that we all like to use, but they said that they've actually been studying Jalen Hurts and this Eagles offense and trying to get 1 yard. Now, that being said, you haven't seen Tennessee really do anything like it except for the very first game of the season in Nashville, where it wasn't necessarily a quarterback. It might have been a quarterback sneak, but they had a couple of defensive linemen, another offensive lineman behind to kind of shove forward into the end zone. So you only saw it once in the first game. It does sound like this is something that's in Tennessee's repertoire, though, but I don't know. I just go back to some of Josh Heupel's comments throughout the week. I think he will always want to be aggressive. I do think that they need better play calling for those situations. I mean, I was not a big fan of the plays that were called on fourth downs, the 2 last week against Alabama. But I do think that they'll go for it. I think they'll stay aggressive. That's Tennessee's mantra. That's their identity. And especially if you're talking about a hypothetical in the second half, I see Tennessee doing what it takes to move the ball.
Hey, what's a fair catch, Rick?
Well, it's not when one of the linemen throw up an arm, I can tell you that. It's wild that we were sitting there on Monday, and you guys are in the media. You know what this is like. It's wild that we were sitting there on Monday in the press conference room, and the head coach of Tennessee had to explain this rule as opposed to the officials during the game. That was really a weird situation that I didn't like the way that just all kind of went about. And this is kind of what Josh Heupel said. He said, hey, look, by rule, yes, that was a penalty. Somebody's arm extended above their shoulders, to which the officials symbolize that as a fair catch. Now, I think that, I think that's something that might have a little bit of common sense element to it, something like that. But that was a really weird play. And again, we had to hear the explanation from Josh Heupel on Monday. But I can be certain that it's something that Mike Eckler and this staff are going to be pressing this week. Keep those hands down. Keep them on a defender. Do not do anything that would confuse an official, because what a weird thing to get burned by that set up Tennessee back on the 4-yard line. That was just a terrible situation for Tennessee last week. So, again, what I can tell you is what it's not.
Just an all-time weird one. You're right. At Ric_Butler, Rick with a C and no K, Rocky Top Insider, hanging out with us here. And Rocky has both a C and a K.
Well, Rick has no K, but only a C. So
like Ric Flair.
Yes.
The nature boy. I guess, Rick, give us somewhat of an injury update. Who may or may not play?
Well, I think it's looking pretty good if you're hoping for optimism on the Tennessee side of things. Gerald Mincey, a player that was removed from the Alabama game due to an injury, in my opinion, Tennessee's best tackle there on the right side of the offensive line. Josh Heupel did confirm yesterday that he has been practicing all week. He looks to be good to go for this game. And then otherwise, there's not too many just kind of questionable players that Tennessee has right now. I think that bye week did a lot in just kind of recharging this team from individual player standpoint. We know that Kamal Haddon won't be there. We know that Brew McCoy won't be there. Those are obviously big losses, but those are also ones we've known about for at least a minute now. So from the most part, Tennessee looks pretty good and healthy going into this game. We'll see what the rotations look like, and we'll see what the depth chart usage looks like. But ultimately, besides that Gerald Mincey question from the press conference yesterday, adding in that press conference question, things look pretty good for Tennessee heading into this game.
Well, I know Thornton came back from an injury playing in Alabama there, Tuscaloosa, but has he, I guess, maybe disappointed more so than expectations that he would impact the team a little bit more? Or what is your overall view of Mr. Thornton there, wide receiver?
I think that's a great question. I think a lot of it is dependent on who you ask. You know, if you were asking me before the season, I was looking at that saying, I really think that Dante Thornton could be a big piece that really, really helps out this Tennessee team just because of the versatility that he brings to the table. He's been a complete non-factor for Tennessee through the first 7 games. And some of that was, you're right, he was banged up in 1 or 2 of those games. But I think a lot of it is just that this is a very complicated offense to run. And not saying that he doesn't know it. I'm not saying that he doesn't get it. I'm just saying that some of these more experienced players in the Tennessee offense, I think that they're getting a little bit more of the favorable treatment. But then the other side of the thing is just, and this is more important to me, hey, Squirrel White has just been Tennessee's best receiver, and Squirrel White's not going to play on the outside. Dante Thornton doesn't look to be playing on the outside, and they want to have Squirrel White in the game as much as possible because of his connection with Joe Milton. So to me, it's just kind of a little bit of a slow start from Dante Thornton, combined with the injury to Brew McCoy, combined with the productivity that Squirrel White has given you. I just don't think that there's been a ton of opportunity to get him on the field. When he has been out on the field, it just has been fairly limited. So I think maybe some other people before the offseason might have told you that it was going to be tough for him to crack the rotation anyways. I was a little bit more optimistic. So if you're asking me, I do think that this has been a little bit of a disappointment from the transfer portal for Tennessee, but we'll see where things go. I don't expect him to make a big impact the rest of the season. I think they figured out what they want to do on offense with the receivers. But who knows? This is a crazy game of college football. Things can change week to week, and we'll see what happens. But that's at least kind of my thought on where things are with him.
Is there any possibility, because I look at his measurables, and he seems like he would be a better fit on the outside, being that he's a tall guy. I don't know how fast he is or any of those things. I'm not covering him like you every day, but maybe that's a possibility where they can have him and Squirrel on the field at the same time.
I would certainly agree, and that was kind of one of my first thoughts, right? When Brew McCoy goes down, you say, okay, well, who do we look at now? Do we look at one of these redshirt sophomore receivers, which is the route that Tennessee did end up going? Do they move a guy like Dante Thornton to the outside and let him play out a little bit more? Here's kind of the interesting part, and some of this is obviously chess from the coaching staff, but they've said that Dante Thornton's been working outside during the season. He was working on the outside during training camp. But he really hasn't played. I can't even think of 2 snaps off the top of my head this year where we've seen him line up outside. So even though it's one of those things where the coaching staff is saying that he's been working outside, he's got experience on the outside, they routinely play him on the inside during games. So at this point in the season, I don't expect that to change. I think we've seen what they're doing. But that was a really fascinating aspect to me that, you know, it didn't even try it a little bit more. And again, I don't know the ins and outs of what they want to do, and especially from a behind closed door standpoint. But I do think it's been interesting not to have him move to the outside when Brew McCoy goes down. But I guess he's just a primarily slot guy who can be effective from there, just maybe not effective right now with this current iteration of the offense.
Ric Butler, hey, about a minute left, Rick. What do you make of Tennessee's recent road woes? A lot of it made it of their last true road games, they've lost 4 of the 5. They beat Vanderbilt. And we had somebody on earlier this week who said, let's be honest, that was a home game for them. It just was played in a different stadium. Can they overcome those road woes against Kentucky?
Yeah, that's one of the big questions. And I do think that they can. They do have that ability because you can put the ball on the ground. You can rush the ball, even with Kentucky being a pretty solid run-stopping team. I don't know. I just look at it that Tennessee's played some tough teams on the road. They had to go to Georgia last year. They had to go to Alabama this year. Now that the Florida game is a total outlier. That's just a situation where, to me, all 4's wheels fell off the car, and there was nothing Tennessee could do to get them back on at halftime or whenever they were trying to, like a NASCAR pit crew. So I think, you know, part of me has trouble balancing the fact of, hey, these are really tough places to play, and these are great environments, but also Tennessee kind of there were a lot of self-inflicted wounds against that Florida game. So to me, Kentucky a little bit more on the par of Florida as opposed to an Alabama or a Georgia. I do think that Tennessee has an opportunity to find that road win to get this monkey off their back. But again, they're going to have to go. They're going to have to play a strong run game. They're going to have to play strong defense. And again, like we talked about at the very beginning, a 4-quarter game.
Rick, fantastic stuff, man. People need to follow you in the Rocky Top Insider crew. I'm a regular reader, Rocky Top Insider at Rick_Butler. Thanks, man. Always good to catch up with you.
I will thank you for the kind words to both our company and myself. It's great to follow along with you guys, and keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, Rick.
Yes, sir. The one and only Rick
Thanks,
Butler.
guys.
Yes, sir. Always good catching up with him. All right, when we come back, we'll catch up with you guys. We asked a question yesterday. By the way, follow us on Twitter at Blaine and Mickey. Follow us on Instagram at Blaine and Mickey.
Oh, on X.
On X. Get on X and follow us.
I still say Twitter too.
I do too. I can't. And people don't know what to call it. But our man
Elon was, texting the show talking about stop that.
I remember when all the people cheered when Elon took over this app. I hope you're happy with what you asked for. If you're asking for a trade for Derrick Henry, I don't think many of you are, but if you are, what would you want in return? Our man Joseph threw up a poll yesterday. Where are we on the votes? I will say there are a couple of things that are way ahead, a couple of other things. We'll update you on that next.
So this is a small bird, too, for someone
right.
that's never seen a Bob White before. It's this little round softball.
That's right. Yeah, they're not much bigger than my fist. They've got little legs, but they're a ground nesting, ground dwelling bird. If they never have to fly in their life, they wouldn't. Right? They just do that to get away from hawks and owls for the most part, or hunters. What they need is largely herbaceous plant communities. Right? So they need wildflowers. They need a small proportion of grasses. I don't need vast grasslands, right? I need stuff that most people would call weeds. Those are providing good brood cover, good nesting cover, a lot of insects, right? That's what chicks need to develop early.
Bridgestone Firestone is a quail focus or focal area. So tell us a little bit why.
Yeah, it's largely because there are very few places that have wild quail in the state of Tennessee anymore. And there's dozens of different factors that lead into that, right? Everybody wants to jump right to predators, but it's a habitat issue, right? Mm-hmm. It's a landscape change, whether we're talking about development or whether we're talking about fire not being on the landscape anymore, or fields and young forests progressing into closed canopy forest, right? So the farm, just by nature of it being an open landscape that's been maintained that way, has held on to some birds. And compared to most other places in the state, we're one of the very few. On top of that, the potential for growing that population, it's higher here than just about anywhere else.
Blaine to Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Y'all want to give Derrick Henry to somebody? A bunch of you don't. Honestly, I don't want to see that happen. Somebody asked me, I was at the grocery store somewhere a couple days ago, and somebody said, y'all were talking about that. Do you want it to happen? I said, no, I don't want Kevin Byard to leave, but I don't make the business decisions down there. I don't want anybody to leave. I like all those guys, but
no, nobody wants them to
nobody
leave.
wants it.
But if you believe that they will release them or not re-sign them, then you would prefer them go to a team that has a shot in the playoffs. And I think that's how the Titans are thinking. They want him to leave? No, but they understand that we're in a position here now, and the season's over, his contract is up, and we get nothing? He just walks free and clear? Hold on. This doesn't sound like this is good business. This guy still got it. How about let's try to get something out of him? And it may not get anything out of him or may not, do the trade at all if something comes about, but King is still an elite player and wish he could finish his career. He's no different than any of the great ones, McNair, Mason, Eddie George. I was having a conversation yesterday. It was like, he's like an ambassador, talking about Kevin Byard. And I'm like, okay, there's been other ambassadors of this team that were released. So don't get mixed in your feelings. He will always be a Titan. He will be remembered as a Titan amongst NFL and the fans, so he'll be back. It's just the cruel part of the business side of this league that fans just are never going to embrace that part of it because you get you enjoy them, meet them, watch them play, and they're great players, and you want to feel like they're going to be around forever. You buy their jerseys, So no, I understand completely because I'm a fan of the league, and it pains me, but I also understand that this league is a business, and I understood that truly my rookie year after my rookie year when they traded Warren Moon. So I was like, this doesn't make any sense. This is our best player. Yeah, because before the season started, at least late great Mr. Bud Adams would say, this is the last season this team will be together. If we don't go to the Super Bowl, this team will be dismantled. He said that. And he lived up to that because Warren Moon wasn't the only one.
Oh, no, they cleaned house.
He was just a star. Yeah. See, so I think that's where they're trying to play in the middle of this. And it may be some more trades, may not be. It's hard to trade in the NFL. But man, it'll pain the entire fan base if the King gets traded. And it'll be at a whole nother level than Kevin Byard. Because the King is, he's the King.
This is the way Joseph put it together. Would you be okay with getting a trade for Derrick Henry and it's basically a third rounder, a fourth rounder, a player plus a combination of picks, which is essentially what they got for Byard, or right in other? So like somebody responded and said, no, don't trade him. That was their other. Third round pick, 39% said if you can get a third round pick, okay, third round pick.
39%. Oh.
Fourth round pick, only 15.
Ooh.
So there's a definite cutoff there. The player in a combo of picks, though, is the clubhouse leader. 40% were like, okay.
So let's say a fourth rounder with, let's use the Ravens as an example since that's one of the teams rumored. Maybe they're running back with a fourth round pick. And people come back, no, he should get a first round. No, that's not how the trade works, and this is not the NBA. It doesn't work like that.
Not the same.
This is they look at, okay, he's still playing at a high level. He's 30. So is this a rental? When I say rental, are we just getting him the rest of the season? Will he drop off after the end of the season, or will he be what we expect? So can we get, move on after him? And that's why, or if we like him, we may give him an extension at a different price. I really don't want it to happen, but I know that there's a possibility that this could happen. But I'm going to put my odds on that it will not happen, though, with the King. Yeah. And the reason why I'm doing that is if you really believe Will Levis, if he's the starter, who is he throwing to and who is he handing off to if you're a young quarterback in this league? And I think they both have enough left in the tank to help, facilitate this quarterback change, at least for this one game, but maybe for the duration of the season, because he's going to need some help. So that's what I'm leaning on, not necessarily that there's teams that are interested in him. Yeah.
This is going to be a weird vibe Sunday, because here's the thing. We made it to Friday. Everybody's getting their game day roster set, and they're going to make the transactions tomorrow where they call up people off the practice squad. Like there's speculation the Titans will call up Eric Gare tomorrow because Vrabel mentioned him as a possible punt returner. Seems like all the wheels are pretty much in motion for Sunday. I think the only way we would know something was up is, let's say, just Danico Autry's not active, where he hasn't been on the report or anything like that. That would mean they got something worked out. It's like, don't play him.
Or limited play.
Yeah.
Limited play. You could still dress, but, limited pitch count.
Where you're like, man, I ain't seen much Autry or Tart today. I ain't seen
much of the King.
Yeah.
J. Spears got a lot of run. Who's that other running back? Ward. What was Henry injured?
Yeah, Ward's back. My training camp crush. Back on the practice squad.
You
kind of quiet about
you
that.
You hit 100%, man.
What amount of play on Sunday do you think, like, we'll just say Derrick Henry, for example, has to get for you to feel like, okay, there's no deal. This isn't happening.
Ooh, I don't know.
Because, I would say, like, he's been getting, 12 to 15 snaps so far? Or carries, not snaps.
Let's do this. Hey, it's the end of the hour. Let's pick this up on the other side. For any of you out there, if you see Derrick get this many snaps, you're thinking, he ain't going anywhere. We'll do a little detective work. Let's do that on the other side.
Kumbaya on this.
I like that. 615-737-1045.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for 24 years. We've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, we are now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. Pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in a barn in his backyard of a single-wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine said you.
"40 years ago, we opened our doors with one mission in mind: right back with the top 10 songs of 1983.
To sell quality American-made vehicles at a fair price.
You have arrived.
And we've loved every minute of the ride. Celebrating 40 years of Two Rivers Ford.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Happy Friday to you. Happy second hour of the program. Friday Buck Reising will join us in about 20 minutes. Ask Buck Reising his latest thoughts on the Titans on a Friday. Mike Vrabel, earlier today, he said Roger McCreary is questionable, and he ruled out Ryan Tannehill, and he ruled out Josh Wiley. So Josh Wiley, Ryan Tannehill ruled out. That means... And he stuck to his gut.
Rotating quarterbacks, that's what it means. It means they're coming in and bringing the plays in.
He said again he's going to play both of the young quarterbacks, the first-year guy and the second-year guy. Happened right as we were coming on the air.
Always trust the coaches. They're always going to, head coaches are going to always tell us the truth. Man, if he rotates the quarterback, that'd be laughable. I'm serious. That'd be laughable.
Somebody tweeted our Blaine and Mickey account this week and said, if he rotates the quarterbacks like that in a series, his key shouldn't work at the end of the game when he goes back to the headquarters. I told you I could think of one time Roger Staubach and Craig Morton. That was probably
Was that in the 70s?
Probably 1971. Probably 71 if I had to guess.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't remember that.
71. Well, I wouldn't remember it, but I read about stuff like that. It'd be 70 or 71 when that would have happened, I would think. Maybe 72 at the latest. But, Roger Staubach only played 10 years because he didn't get to the league till he was older because he had his naval obligation. But anyway, I think he graduated in 64. So 70, 71. But anyway, he and Craig Morton, literally, they would send one in with a play and the other one would come out and they'd send him in with the play. They're not going to do that. I'm telling you, I think in my mind, they're going to have a couple of plays maybe where they're both on the field. And he'll be like, see, I told you I was going to play both of them.
Yeah, that would work for me. I would even love for Will Levis starts, you stick with him throughout, and then you have somewhat to what you're saying, maybe, I'm going to call them gadget plays, but some kind of to loosen you up, get you unsettled on defense where you have two quarterbacks and then another guy's out there being kind of a run-around option guy, can also throw the ball, and can run. So I love that. And then you get his feet wet a little bit, and then just in case things go awry for Levis, or maybe, knock on wood, don't get injured, or he's playing really piss poor, you have somebody who's kind of in the flow of the game to a certain extent. They're out there, maybe every, 5 series or something. May not be that many with the way the Falcons run the football because they're the old Titans. So they run the football. So it's not going to be a lot of possessions. I could see that. So you could say he played both of them. Yeah. But he went into detail. He did and said, I may have him come in and bring the plays in. He said that. That was his first thing that came to his mind.
When he said that, I thought, how could you say that with a straight face? Since it hasn't happened in 50 years, how could you say that? If it happened in 73, that was 50 years ago. Come on, man. It's a different world.
But he said it with a straight face.
He said it with a straight face. Somebody had to have pulled him. Like, if anybody down there is like, hey, man, can we be real with each other? That was nuts what you just said. Hey,
wait a minute. Who would do that?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think anybody would.
When he's the one at the top?
Yeah, signing the checks or endorsing the checks.
And by the way, let's not think that he had nothing to do with this KB trade. He was all a part of that trade. So, yeah. Him and the organization, as well as Amy, as well as Ren Carthon. They all had to sign off on it.
I think the last thing that happened that he didn't sign off on was when A.J. Brown got traded.
Yeah.
As his face said, I didn't sign off on this.
Yeah, that draft day video. Oh,
that was
rough to watch.
We asked this question. So we're at Friday. Everybody's locked in game mode. It seems like anybody that's going anywhere all ashore that's coming ashore. Trade deadline, though, isn't until literally as we are ending on Tuesday of next week. Halloween. As we are ending the show on Halloween, we're about to get tricked or treated with whatever's going to happen with all these other guys who are potential trade targets. And there's all this hubbub about the Titans and the Ravens. Just for instance, Ravens only have like $2.8 million of cap space. I know you can restructure people and you can move money around.
Oh, no. The Titans can pay his salary.
That's what I was going to say. Like the Dolphins did with Tannehill.
Right, exactly.
We'll pay part of Tannehill's salary.
With that, do you think if the Titans agreed to pay for part of his salary, they could get a little bit of a sweeter compensation for him?
Maybe.
I mean,
never know.
You never know.
Never hurts to ask there.
100%. I'd ask for everything. So we ask you guys, okay, because looks like barring Sunday morning, you get some weird thing. Tart's inactive today. Autry's inactive today, where they're preserving somebody for a trade. You said, well, the other thing is just let them play, but don't play very much. So we asked this question. What do you think that means for Derrick Henry then? Because if what if the Ravens call Tuesday and say, look, if you'll pay $5 million of his salary, we'll give you a third and a running back. I'm just saying.
I'm taking that deal. I love the King, but man, are we going to re-sign him? Now, here's what I would say if I'm the GM. This is why I'm not a GM. I'd sign Derrick Henry to an extension. See, people think I'm crazy. I would pay him between $5 and $7 million. He would continue the role he has with Tajay Spears, and he'll be a Titan for life at $5 to $7 million because that's what his value is to me with the team. He is not the team like he was before, but he's a key cog to the team. If you want to go back and look at history, go back and look how the Pittsburgh Steelers did with Jerome Bettis his last 3 years in the National Football League. Yep. And that's how I would parlay this. And he probably not like it because he may think he can still be the guy. Has to you, but we tried. That's where I would come from.
You said that a couple of days ago. You know what I thought? To piggyback onto that?
Wow.
I would announce it Sunday morning at 8 a.m. I'm dead serious. Chestnut checkers. Because it's going to be weird over there anyway.
Yeah.
If there was a ticket that wasn't sold, somebody'd go buy it, and they'd buy a 22 jersey before they left because they think he's never going to be anywhere else. I'm going to buy the.
That would ignite you, right?
That gives me goosebumps.
They probably buy the 22 Oilers jerseys too.
Oh, 100%. I'd buy both if I was so inclined.
Oh, great strategy, marketing, money-making deal right there, man.
I would have it leak out on Saturday night. Then I would announce it myself. I'd have the Jim Wyatt article, because things leak at Rappaport, Saturday night at 10 o'clock. Wow, breaking news. Mm-hmm. Sources say the Titans will re-sign Derrick Henry to an extension. You don't think people would be bananas happy around here about that? Mm-hmm. That could buy you a bunch of goodwill, too. Well, Will Levis figures out how to play quarterback
over these next year or two.
Okay, and the cap's going up next year. And Tannehill's $36 million. There's a bunch of big numbers that are gone next year. You couldn't pay Derrick Henry 6 or 7, whatever you said. Maybe 7 one year and 5 the next.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, if you leak that Saturday, if this happens.
No, because you're protecting yourself in case all of a sudden he falls off a cliff.
Sure.
And then you go, oh, man.
You're still protected. You're okay.
Yeah, we're going to have to either cut him or he's going to have to reduce his salary. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's got good 2 or 3
Doesn't that sound way better than trade him to Dallas for a 5th-round pick and some practice squad running back?
Uh-huh.
How would that would lift people's spirits?
Yeah.
Boy, we're keeping the band together. At least the leader of the band, the king.
And after all the moves that you've made with A.J. Brown, with Kevin Byard, I mean, that would be the one. If you were in the market of getting the good graces of the fans, that would be the move to make.
That's the guy to do it
because he has been and still is, I think, this franchise for the last 4 or 5 years. And
now he has agreed to it, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. He's got to be okay with it. But if you can somehow make that deal work where it's still team friendly, the fans would fall in love with you all over again. Screw the record. Forget what your record is. Forget who's at quarterback. And everyone would be so excited. You still have
the must-see buy ticket come to the game, not only this year, but the next couple of years.
Yes.
Oh, until you get
the final reign. I think that's what you would title it.
Until I get into the new stadium, by then we'll have our new superstar.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They're already splitting their carries with him and Spears.
Yep.
And here's
keep
the
him
thing.
at that role just at a reduced price.
As you said 3 weeks ago, look, if they get in the head in the bleepity-bleep games, they're going to give it to Derrick Henry 8-10 times in the fourth quarter. Yep. Then he'll get his 24 carries. Mm-hmm. They just have to be leading the damn game, to give him the ball. I mean,
I see your frustration there, fan Mickey.
I'm just saying, we're all witness
I'm right there with you.
We're all witness to what's going on. If you want a good Amy, if you're listening, we just solved so many of your problems.
Mm-hmm. It's easy. Except, the king has to sign.
Him saying, yeah, I'll take that.
I think you got to remember where the mindset of as an athlete.
I know.
He really believes, and he's still getting it done. And people are confirming that if he's lost a step, it's a half a fragment of a step. Hey, man, he's still the real deal. This is coming from people in the league. He's going to be like, I can at least get 10. I'm like, I don't know, man. You were on those conference calls. You see how they treat running backs. Come on, Derek. Give us a break. We'll take care of you.
If this doesn't happen, though, and he gets 6 carries on Sunday, how nervous are you going to be?
Oh, I'm going to be like, he's out of here. It will not be a doubt in my mind. Oh, Silver away. He is gone, man. There's no way. I said, there's no way King Henry supposed to be on the sideline to get 6 reps. Oh. And don't let him not get the ball with no 6 reps. Because, you got to pass the physical to be, traded. They're like, hey, or they will speed up the process. Today's Friday. Nah, I don't think anything can happen over the next, 24 to 48 hours. So,
Again, it goes to what you say. Either some guy's just mysteriously not going to play, or somebody's going to play and it's be like, man, we're not seeing much of this dude today because they keeping him fresh to ship him out. Keeping him on ice. We ship him in the refrigerated truck to wherever they're shipping somebody for a 5th rounder.
Yeah, that will be painful. But I'm assuming nothing happens with the King. I'm probably because I prayed on it. Some fans probably done the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, no, the King has to stay.
I feel like if it hasn't happened now, like if you were going to get a deal done with him, a team that was going after him would have wanted him in the building.
If they lose to the Atlanta Tennessee Falcons, though, Sunday, and let's say
I think it changes the team's perspective. I think
if they lose to them and they're 2-5, then they may start. Because right now, Vrabel's got all these sticky notes on his desk, like this guy called, this guy called, this guy. He's going to start looking through them like, yeah, look, go ahead and call this guy back. Go ahead and call Ravens back. Call Jerry Jones.
Yeah,
if they lose,
I think his head gonna explode if that happens.
A bunch of people's heads are going to explode if that happens. What if they don't, though? What if Sunday morning Blaine will have been up 3 hours by then. If the rest of us wake up to the news, though, of a Derrick Henry extension, this place, it'd be like a kumbaya over there.
Not only that, Derrick Henry just takes over the Falcons game.
Just runs
150 yards,
nasty,
3 touchdowns.
wild.
He's got 50 yards through the air. I mean, it just old Derrick Henry's there. Titans are on top of the world.
And 3-4. All right. We'll be back. Buck Reising. We'll ask Buck Reising about this scenario next. We'll get his thoughts. I'm sure he's going to love it.
Oh, he increased his value, though.
True. Okay, all you want to be lake lovers or lake lovers who've been looking for the right spot, it's go time. Today's Friday. Tomorrow, Saturday, this property release that I've been talking about, it happens tomorrow. Look, you can still go to lakelivingtn.com right now. You can get yourself some more information. You can still call, make an appointment. They would love to hear from you. 865-408-9992. That's the number. You can check out these 2-acre wooded lots. Under 65, you can check out Lake Villa packages starting at $349 or Sunset Waterfront lots, $50,000 off. Man, you'd have that spot that you and the family, you go. Maybe you spend the holidays there. You spend the summers there. Spend your break time, your vacation. Maybe you just want to live there. I don't know. I'd love to live at the lake. It'd be peaceful. And they got all the amenities that you would want. So not only do you get the serenity of the lake, you get the coffee shop and the pickleball tournaments and everything else. Look, make it happen. It's all about 20 minutes from Knoxville, lakelivingtn.com. Make an appointment. See this property for yourself. Buy some. 865-408-9992. Time to invest in something real lake living in Tennessee. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. 3HL's going to be at the scoreboard today, the OG Opryland scoreboard location. So go out there. And it's fall weather. They'll have just the TVs on and the chicken and everything. I'd crush a cheeseburger from scoreboard right now. So go see the 3HL crew at the Opryland scoreboard location. Maybe you see Buck Reising. Maybe he'll be cruising around out there. Bucko, what's going on with you on this Friday afternoon?
Not Music Valley on this particular day, but Scoreboard does have great hot chicken, so I'd recommend that, as well as going out to see Brent and Flames and the squad.
100%. You can go see Two Rivers. They bring you Buck Reising on this program, home of the non-commissioned salespeople. They've been out there selling people Fords forever, doing it the right way. Speaking of doing people the right way, KB got sent to his birth city. He's gone. Kevin Byer. We've had a week to kind of process this. Now, your thoughts, now that you've had a few days to reflect on the life, the career, and the departure of one Kevin Leon Byard.
Leon, that is not how far. I have not made it that far in my research. Look at you with the flex.
I said that. I think that's right. I just said it instinctively. I'm a look.
No, you did not.
We just made that up?
No.
Or maybe you remember reading it somewhere a long time ago and it just flowed out.
A long time ago. Let me see. Just for posterity's purposes, I'm on Pro Football References. Kevin Leon Byard.
Incredible.
You're welcome.
I was going to say it. His middle name is Leon. Moving forward now.
Since we're in the middle names, what is your middle name there, Buck?
Oh, mine is Khalil.
Khalil.
Like Matt Khalil.
Khalil.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is it named after some family member or no?
Yeah, that's my Egyptian family's last name.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, Buck's exotic, man. He's got Egyptian names and everything else. I'm named after a mouse.
So your question about Kevin Byard.
I did not say that. He said a mouse.
So about said Leon Byard.
Yes.
It's been a little obituary-like. I understand. You needed draft picks. They don't have many, and Kevin Byard was apparently the asset on the roster that people were most interested in. So these things happen, that it's just kind of this weird in-between where Byard's the only one who's been moved, is interesting to me. But I think that, they're not a better football team without Kevin Byard. Yeah. They've been laying the groundwork to move on from Kevin Byard basically since the summer. So that the fact that it just, it came to pass in October, as opposed to them potentially releasing Kevin at the end of the year or whatever they might do moving forward, Kevin Byard was not a part of this football team's future.
You think there's more to come, trade-wise?
I really don't. I think now watch, they'll turn around and trade Derek tomorrow or something like that. But at least right now, it's been really, really quiet.
Ooh, that's what makes me scared, though.
Yeah, Buck Reising
should be.
And Buck Reising is never quiet. He does the Buck Reising Show and A to Z Sports and the install of Greg Cosell, you name it, he does it.
Well, I'm going to ask you this in a different way about the Byard trade. Do you feel like then that the organization has turned the page from this season, or are they still going to be trying to fight and win some games? Basically, are they, quitting on the season by trading Kevin Byard?
Yeah, I definitely felt that way on Tuesday, Blaine. Now, quitting on the season, I think I think everybody in that locker room still wants to beat the Falcons. I think
right, no, everybody's trying to win, but I mean, as far as in totality this season, as far as playoff contending team, probably not going to happen.
Probably not. I'd say that's an accurate assessment, and I think they're being realistic about it. I think that you can look at it this way, that they tried to field the most competitive version of this football team at the start of the year, that it didn't go to plan, and that they used their bye week to reevaluate, and that they had an offer for Byard and moved him when they did. Now, my preference would be, if you're going to do it, let's not half-ass this thing. Let's move the pieces that are there to be moved, but you also have to have a buyer on the other side. It doesn't sound like they have many. Now, trade deadline's not till Tuesday. They've got some time to, ramp things up, I guess. And we know that these things tend to move quickly and close to that 3 p.m. deadline, as opposed to, letting it simmer over a weekend. But given that there's a football game between now and the deadline, it does kind of complicate the timeline on these things. But yes, I did feel Tuesday that it was, all but that they had waved the white flag on 2023.
What were your expectations coming into the season as far as win-loss record, AFC South, and then has it changed as of today?
It's funny because I feel like it's come full circle. I had zero expectations for them prior to DeAndre Hopkins signing. I thought that this was just going to be like a weird science experiment year, and I was kind of down for it. Hopkins signed, and that kind of changed things. I said, okay, look around. Maybe the AFC South is still something that's attainable. I did not, I don't think anybody would have anticipated Houston being as good as they have been, even though they're 500. But they've been competent. Certainly, we'll see that as they come back from their bye this weekend against the winless Carolina Panthers. And that the Colts have been way more competent than I think people were expecting them to be without Anthony Richardson. Those are two surprising things. They're a lot further away from the other three than I think we all realized, and it took 6 games for that to come to fruition. Doesn't mean that they can't still win games this year, but that I kind of feel like I've come full circle back to how I felt pre-DeAndre Hopkins, which is, all right, this is just going to be something weird. Let's ride it out and find out what you got.
Well, I get this question all the time, and now that we have a new GM, and I say we, the Titans, being a former Titan, that is what do you think about the sign of them trading KB and that Rand is the one and not Vrabel is signing off on, besides the owner, of course. And to me, it's all encompassing. Everybody had to sign off on this, including Vrabel.
Oh, for sure. No, listen, Vrabel is the primary factor here. Okay, like let's not confuse the situation. Mike Vrabel is not. It's not just like, hey, Mike, do you want to move Kevin Byard? Mike is actively involved in all of these discussions. So there's not there. If they have muddled the way that this thing is perceived from the outside, so that fingers can't be pointed, that's fine. But I think people have to be very realistic about this being as much, if not more, Mike Vrabel's move than it is first-year general manager Rand Carthon.
Well, now to the game. How important is it for the Titans to win? Is this a must-win? I know that you throw that around a lot, myself included. But man, is this a must-win, or is it just a game you should win, or they have to win it? I mean, how do you view this game?
They have to show me a pulse, Blaine. Like they just feel like they've been lifeless for like they've just been wandering through it for the past couple of weeks. And the bye came and went. The Byard trade came and went. Vrabel, at least at the podium, has been as agitated and as irritable as we've ever been around, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because I think he can use that as a motivational tool. I think that kind of stuff that shocks a locker room, while they're not a better football team for not having Kevin Byard, I think it can put people on a different level of urgency as to what this actually means. And now you're playing less for, at least the way that I would view it, you're playing less for the team than you are for your future, because now we're at a point where you're finding out, all right, are you a part of this thing moving forward? And if not, can you put the best tape out there for your next opportunity? Because this team is clearly in flux. I think, do they have to win it Sunday? Hell, I don't know if they have to win a game all year long, but for the sake of showing people that you're still, that you are who you say you are, right? Like, I know Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin are who they say they are. They're tough. They're gritty. They don't have losing seasons. They fight till the end. Mike Tomlin said that they cut their eyelids off, that they don't blink, like it's an insane thing, but that's real. I know them to be true to that identity. There's been a lot of talk about who the Titans are next to who the Titans have been. And if you're going to continue to tell me that you've still got this fight in you, then I desperately need to see some on Sunday.
There you have it. Buck Reising from the Buck Reising Show right before the Blaine and Mickey Show.
Buck, Blaine had an idea, and then I took it and ran with it because he got me excited. Blaine was like, you know what? If I was going to show something, I wouldn't ship Derrick Henry. I would re-sign him on a deal that works, an economically fair deal.
I said 5 to 7.
5 to 7, not top of the market, but I'd keep him here. And he referenced the end of Jerome Bettis' career where he was able to finish with the Steelers on a contract and in a situation that worked for everybody. I said, not only would I do that because it got me all excited, I said, I'd call Rap Sheet or Diana or one of them. I would let them leak it Saturday night. Then I would have the Jim Wyatt press release come out at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning, and people would just go down there and swim across the Cumberland to get to that game and rejoice with Derrick Henry, lifetime Titan. What do you say?
And goodwill with the fan base.
The goodest of will with the fan base. What do you say? We figured out everything, right?
He's going to bust our bubble.
100% he's going to laugh at us.
Well, I'm it's very sweet, boys.
That's what we figured out, Buck. We figured that out as a team.
Well, listen, you know what? You work towards solutions, not adding to the problem. That is why we appreciate you the way that we do. I also, just in my mind, because I'm a sicko this way, I've imagined all of this coming to fruition and then losing that game on Sunday. No. Kind of like the day that they retired Eddie and McNair's jerseys and then the field caught on fire and they lost to the Colts. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, Lord.
Like, that's where my head goes, but I value your scenario that you have painted here. I really don't think that he is here past this year, even if he's a Titan after the deadline.
Gotcha.
And you know, we'll see. They have tons of money. There's no financial reason that they can't keep him.
Yep.
Okay, I want to make sure that that's clear. They have all the resources in the world to keep Derrick Henry on the roster past 2023. But I think in an honest, I think, and I said this maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember, but I think if you gave Tim Kelly truth serum, like at the end of the day, would he say, is your offense benefited by the version of the offense that you're trying to run? Is that helped or hindered by Derrick Henry's presence and his lack of all-around ability in your passing game? I really think Tim Kelly would say, yeah, I think we'd like to, the Spears scenario is one that we would like to pursue more moving forward. Now, I still think there's a world where that can work with Derrick Henry. You just have to look at this and see that he's a two-down player, and first and second down are Derrick Henry downs, and third down for as long as, for the rest of his career is going to be for another player. But I think that they would rather not have it be such a giveaway, and I think Spears gives them a little more flexibility with that. Now, it's not like Spears is going to replace Henry. I think you still need something to give you that threat, particularly in the red zone. You still need to have the guy who's going to get you the dirty yards. It's not like Spears can't do that. I just think that somebody of Derrick's size and sustainability is so rare, and they've been able to lean on it for so long. But let's keep it short. I do not anticipate an extension press conference announcement at 8 a.m. Sunday morning before we go to the air with the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff.
How do you think we're going to see this quarterback rotation that Vrabel keeps talking about?
Levis is the primary, and Malik in packages that are tailored to his skill set. Now, what that looks like, I'm very curious about, because they tried a couple of these things last year with Tannehill and Malik. And if you'll recall, they had three such plays in particular where Malik fumbled it all three times. So we have seen improvement from him. I don't look at Malik Willis as a lost cause. I know people try to pin that on anybody who criticizes him. And I understand that he's been in a bad spot, but I don't, at least from my standpoint, Blaine, you see this stuff way better than I do. I don't see him improving on the mistakes that he was making from a year ago to an extent that it helps them win a football game. Like, he's a better player. I don't know that he's good enough right now.
Yeah, it's fair. Fair, no doubt about it.
Buck Reising hanging out with us on this Friday on Blaine and Mickey.
Okay, he just talked about, Buck, they're going to rotate the quarterbacks from Vrabel. And then there's a report nationally that Will Levis is the starter. And he rebuted that and continues to say that both quarterbacks are going to play. How does that even get out there nationally without him or someone in the organization, I guess feeding them that information?
It doesn't. And I'm not gonna source guess because
no, I didn't want you to. I'm just saying how this actually works so fans understand, what's going on here.
Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, how does it get out there without somebody in the organization leaking it? It doesn't. So let's start there. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to point fingers one way or the other because I don't know.
Right.
So
right.
Mm-hmm. I just want to make sure that I say that. But it doesn't get out there. Okay. Now Mike doesn't have to be the one to leak it. It can be those, especially people like Rap Sheet, they've got people everywhere. And more often than not, it's less organizational leaking than it is agents and things of that nature, because this is the hive mind that actually controls all of the things that operate, around the league. So, it's beneficial, I think. When news breaks, this is the way that I'll articulate it for the audience, Blaine, because that's what we're trying to do here. When news breaks, you have to ask yourself, who does this benefit the most from it being out there? Mm-hmm. And if you want to conduct your own kind of context clues and things like that, this benefits Will Levis the most from being out there. This is the guy, and I'm not saying I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm not saying that Will Levis leaked this or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, Will Levis and his party, his people, his side of things, this benefits them for this to be out there. This is a guy who fell out of the first round. He's the only one of these high-drafted rookie quarterbacks that hasn't got an opportunity to show one way or the other what they can do. And this is a situation that everybody's just kind of been waiting for anyway. So to get people excited about it, to get people thinking about it, to make it more viable, to breathe life into it, essentially, why not just sprinkle it out there on, what was this, a Tuesday? And, let Mike Vrabel squirm at the podium when he deals with us on Wednesday, because God knows that man doesn't want it out there.
Lastly, real quick, what alumni, since it's Oiler Titans alumni weekend, what player would you most likely love to interview? It doesn't have to be an Oiler. It could be a former Titan as well, to sit down and have a thorough conveation with.
Well, we're doing that at 3:30 today, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm outside of me. I mean,
no, I know. Wow, that's a great question. So I assume they have to be still living, because
unless you're going to have a seance, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, because my immediate reaction, I hear so much about Steve McNair, and I never got to cover him, which would be my immediate answer. So, like, he's just this mythical figure to me. Like, I've seen him play. You can see highlights and things like that. The legend, but obviously that would be where I would go first. I've interviewed Warren Moon. Warren is an incredible person with such a deep history and knowledge base for the league and the Oilers at the time. But I've never got to talk to Bruce Matthews, and that's somebody who's as important to the history of this place and the Houston Oilers, the franchise, and their transition as any of the other names I think that people typically put out there. And I don't think I've ever talked to Bruce.
The living legend is what I used to call him as a player. Teammate.
There you go. Buck Reising letting us look behind the curtain at who he would like to talk to the most. And he will be talking to Blaine what time so people can tune back in?
We're going to stream that at 3:30 today, whenever Blaine decides that he is ready to chop it up with some people on A to Z Sports.
There you go, Buck. Good stuff, man. We will see you Sunday morning bright and early for the League Company Countdown to Kickoff starting at 9 a.m.
I got a little Oilers flair. I don't normally lean into the theme, boys, but I got a little Oilers flair for Sunday. I'm fired up.
We cannot wait to see it and to see the memes and things that will be generated on the internet by said outfit that you won't see because you're no longer on Twitter. Buck, we appreciate you.
That's fine, as long as it's not pictures of my face as that coyote was trying to hug me yesterday.
Oh, my. We'll take them however we get them. Thank you, Buck.
Thanks, Buck.
Bye.
All right, we'll see Buck on Sunday. All right, when we come back, it's time to call our shot. Also, our man Bam is holding. Bam, hold. We'll come to you. We'll call our shot. You got a shot. Drop it in the F&M Bank chat or on the phone, 615-737-1045. Man, just think if you were loading up the car right now and you were headed to the lake, how awesome would that be? It'd be pretty awesome. Well, if you don't have a lake house, though, maybe you're just going to go drive by a lake and look longingly at it. Well, what if you and your crew actually took the plunge, literally and figuratively? Well, you can do it, but tomorrow, Saturday, a big property release by lakelivingtn.com. Matter of fact, you can go there and learn more about it. Matter of fact, you could go there or you could call and you could make an appointment and you could go see this unbelievable spot in the world. It's about 20 minutes from Knoxville. So if you like to hang out some in Knoxville, and you could lake it up and you could vol it up, you could do it all. Maybe you just like that part of Tennessee. Doesn't matter what college football team you like. Pretty nice part of the world to be hanging out by the lake in 20 minutes from Knoxville. They got financing available. They're making appointments now to see some unbelievable property, but it's go time. Go now. You got to go. LakeLivingTN.com or on the phone 865-408-9992. Invest in something real now. Invest in Lake Living in Tennessee. Time to call our shot.
Oh.
Courtesy of Chattanooga Whiskey. The 2023 football season brought to you by Chattanooga Whiskey. Named the 2023 Craft Producer of the Year by Whiskey Magazine. The perfect lineup for your football season. Chattanooga Whiskey 91, Cask 111, and 99 rye available at your local retailer. Maybe you will have a shot or two responsibly, of course, this weekend. Let's get Bam in real quick. Bam, got about a minute here before we got to call some shots. What you got, man?
Bam, bam.
Man, look. How y'all doing?
You doing great, man.
Doing good.
A little bit of hope today, man. First, y'all could be, listen, I know you remember the Blues Brothers, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so y'all could be Jake and Elwood. Y'all can walk into Rand's office and say, we're on a mission from God. Listen, we're putting the band back together. We need to keep Rand here 2 more years, and let's go really get this thing right. It would be dope for the fan base. It would be amazing. And I got to shout out my boys, my Titans group, because they have really talked me off the ledge this week. Like, it's been such an emotional up and down roller coaster, but you wake up every day and he's still here. And it's kind of like I was watching football last night, and they were like, they're here in tight. And I'm like, Lord, please let this. Oh, my God. There's just so many things that remind you. Have you ever had a bad breakup and you hear a song that reminds you of your ex that you just broke up with?
Oh,
it's just kind of like, don't do this, man. Please don't do it. But I think Sunday, man, okay, what if he goes in? Everybody's, like, trying to give up on the season. I kind of heard people don't have expectations. Okay, C.J. Stroud is actually doing well in Houston. Like, so it's kind of like we don't know what he's going to look like. We don't know what Levis is going to look like. But it's like we got to give Mayo Man an opportunity. I mean, you need to keep as much as you can around this boy to actually give him an opportunity. Like, if we win Sunday, like if we win Sunday and Thursday, now does that change the whole trajectory of the season now? Are we still going to try to fight for a playoff spot? Or are we still going to, because to me, if you take away what can help him, to me, you seem like you're tanking him. You're like, nah, we good. We just going to break the whole thing down. I mean, like, what's the real answer to that? And I guess that's my thing. Like, but either which way it goes, I mean, I'm going to be in there, you know what I'm saying, loud and proud. I mean, we got to rally around these boys regardless of how hurt we are. Like the Blues Brothers say, man, everybody needs somebody to love, man. Come on, let's love on these boys and I love these blue jerseys, man. Tighten up, man. It's Friday, man. Let's go.
Let's go, Bam. Yeah. Bam always has a way to tie things together in a tidy bow at the end. All right, Lonzo said in the chat, I'm calling my shot, Will Levis, 30 for 38. I don't think he'll throw it 38 times. 300 yards, an interception, 2 TDs, 1 passing, 1 running. That's his shot. Trippin' Titans says, I'm calling my shot. Henry runs for almost 200 and 2 touchdowns. Trade my something that rhymes with Bass. He says, NPF is good at run blocking.
Okay.
Joseph.
We ready for shots?
Bonanno.
Tennessee has only lost to Kentucky 3 times since 1985.
Ooh.
Coming off losses under Josh
Honey's
Heupel.
was wearing Sassoons, yeah.
Coming off losses under Josh Heupel, Tennessee is 7-1. They're averaging 51.8 points per game in those 8 games, and they have an average margin of victory of 38.3 in those 7 wins. Tennessee is beating Kentucky on the road. They're getting back on track. Devin Leary, not a good quarterback. All right, he was good at NC State. He's not good in the SEC. I think he's proved that the last couple of games. He's going to throw an interception at some point in that game or a fumble. He's going to turn the ball over. Tennessee wins in Lexington.
Yeah, been a rough go for Leary against Florida, Georgia, and Mizzou recently. Under 46% completion. 7 of his 11 times sacked this season have been in the last 2 games. I think Tennessee's going to sack him 4 times.
We don't have a lot of time. My shot is the Titans are not in sell mode. No one else gets traded from the Tennessee Titans. Shot. Stop yelling, Blaine.
People like that. You can yell at that all you want. Chelsea Messenger feels good about a field goal game. The Falcons average 16 points. The Titans average 17. That's a true story. The Titans, Nick Folk, is going to set all kinds of records. He's going to kick 6 field goals. The Titans are going to win 18-16 in front of all the Love You Blue fans. And as we leave the stadium and people walk out, the Cumberland River will be sparkling Titans blue in honor of the win.
Oh,
Oilers
nice.
blue.
Oilers blue,
Ooh.
which is now Titans blue.
Yeah.
It's going to be glorious.
Well, some areas may be darker than others.
Yes, it is the Cumberland River, and it'll be magical.
It'll be magical.
18-16. Book it.
Oh, you got it. Hope so.
3HL coming up next out at Opryland at the scoreboard. Go hit them up.
But in the meantime,
and in between time, peace.